Austin, thank you for the time, as always. What do you make of the latest in the conversation with Joey Aguilar, who filed suit recently in Knox County? Earlier today was granted a temporary restraining order in his pursuit of one more year of eligibility. What do you make of where the conversation stands today?
I think it's very positive. Obviously, when he decided to break away from the Pavia suit, you knew that this was coming, and they were strategic with when they filed. They waited until it was going to be in Judge Haggerty's court, in my opinion, and because they get in rotation, and I think they figured out when it was going to be his time. They filed, got in his court. Obviously, things went well today. It's the first step towards a lot of this. Tennessee's still awaiting to officially hear when the hearing will be. I know they wanted this Friday. Others wanted next Friday. I think it probably ends up being next Friday, but I think they're still waiting to hear official word of when that will be. But again, the first step in the process to Joey Aguilar potentially being back at Tennessee, and I think for Tennessee, this is best case scenario. I think the floor for the ceiling gets raised with Joey Aguilar at quarterback, and I think for spring practice, it really does kind of give you a shot in the arm in terms of Joey won't be out there for spring, or if he is, it'll be very much at the end of spring, which means it's a lot of George and Faison development time in spring practice, which I think is pivotal for both those young kids.
How much was George kind of involved in kind of knowing what was going on? I know that this was a possibility for a very, very long time. A lot of folks are kind of worried about George, if that's going to run him off, even though the portal is closed. If you can sue to get a 6th, 7th year college, I'm sure you can sue to get back into the portal and leave too, if George really wanted to. Like, where's George at mindset wise with Joey possibly coming back next year?
I think there's probably some disappointment there if Joey gets another year. George obviously wanted the chance to compete, wanted the chance to have the opportunity to win the job. Let's call it what it is. If Joey Aguilar is back, Joey Aguilar is the starting quarterback in 2026. And there's no kind of putting a lipstick on the pig for either one of those young kids that, hey, you're going to have a chance. And they know that. Deep down, they know that this is going to be Joey's team, Joey's ship, and he'll be the captain, and we'll go from there. But, until we start seeing kids sue to try to get back in the portal, let's not even put that out there in the stratosphere, Jason, because that doesn't do anybody any good. And I don't think it would do George any good. I mean, most of these teams are pretty set at their quarterback spot. Look at the desperation Miami had to go out there and get Mensa. When they knew that, okay, Ty Simpson's officially in the draft, he's gone, Levitt's going to LSU, who's left? All right, let's go get the guy from Duke. And that was the panic there for Miami because, they needed to fill their spot at quarterback, and they were able to get it done. So, a lot of the teams are pretty set at that position. And the other thing that's going to hurt George is he doesn't have tape. He has high school tape. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have college tape. Throwing a few meaningless passes in the spring game last year or, playing late in a couple of ball games doesn't really get it. It's part of the problem Ty Simpson ran into a few years ago when he thought about leaving Alabama. And multiple schools just said, you don't have any tape. He sure had tape this past year, and obviously that would have been a big reason why, had he chose to come back to college and leave Alabama, he would have been able to really command whatever he wanted. And, that's the problem with anybody like George or even a guy like Deuce Knight last year. You don't have a ton of tape. Now, Deuce had the one game that he started and he had 7 touchdowns. But I think for any of these younger quarterbacks, the ability to get on the field like this fall, even as the backup, is pivotal for them long-term, whether they're staying or leaving.
Austin Price, Volquest.com. He joins us thanks to Colossal Productions. You mentioned raising the floor. How does the conversation around expectations for Tennessee in 2026, and we're having this conversation in early February, but how's it affected if you find out that Joey will return this fall?
Well, the offense comes back basically all intact. You running game's pretty much the same. Receivers, you lose Brazel, but you're hoping that, in year 2 you see big jumps from Darius Jackson, big jumps from Travis Smith. You hope that Tristan Keys comes in and gives you a shot in the arm. Obviously, the tight ends are similar. So the offense looks pretty much the same, right? I mean, give or take one or two players, it's pretty much the same offense that was intact this past year that did lead the SEC in passing, had over 2,000 yards on the ground, and led the SEC in scoring. And so that's a big shot in the arm to know, okay, that's the floor of our offense now. And let's see if we can build upon it. Now the question is what kind of direction does the defense start to trend in? You don't have to be top 10. You just can't be 93 again. And so in year one at Penn State, they were 37. Now, that was with no coaching, transition for Jim Knowles in terms of he didn't bring anybody with him. The players didn't know the system. He's brought a handful of guys with him now that either have been with him at Ohio State or at Penn State. And then you have at least one player at every level of the defense that has transitioned into transferring to Tennessee. How much does that help, the defense be better? So, again, the floor to me rises dramatically with Joey at quarterback. And that's not to say that the ceiling can't be higher with somebody else. It just means the floor rises dramatically with Joey Aguilar at quarterback.
AustinPriceVolquest.com. What's the latest with Arion Carter? The expectation for him this spring, what's his recovery time, and kind of you have anything in terms of update with him being back with this team leading during winter workouts?
Yeah, he'll just be around. He'll be going through rehab. He will not go through spring practice. And, we'll be – and to me, that's not a bad thing. Obviously, you'd love for him to be out there just because he is learning a new defense. But as a veteran, someone who can pick it up mentally and who's very smart off the field, I don't worry about him having to have the reps to get it figured out. I think he can handle the mental reps. I think he can handle the meeting room, all those things this spring that can still help him advance. And it gives a chance for Amari Campbell to acclimate himself. It gives a chance for Edwin Spillman to acclimate himself into the new defense. Same thing with Jaden Perlotti and T-Lander and all the others. So, again, that's a deep position where William Inge is going to be tasked with trying to get several guys to the field, and that's a tough spot for him.
Austin, in recruiting, what is the latest with five-star running back David Gabriel Georges from down at Baylor, a 2027 prospect, one of the top players in the country?
Tennessee and Ohio State remain the top two. I personally like Tennessee here. Have liked Tennessee for quite a while. I know some Ohio people like Ohio State, but the kid plays in this state and is around people that love the orange, and I think that stuff matters. And again, I think you'll continue to see him play his recruitment a certain way. I'm not sure you see him take a lot of unofficial visits between now and official visits in June, just because I think he's done all that and he just wants to kind of relax. Now, there's nothing stopping him from rolling up here to see his old buddies Joakim Dodson and Gabe Osinda and Jamie and Theodore and hang out with his buddies. And I think that's a feather in Tennessee's cap if they can get him up here over the next few months just to hang out, not with coaches, just hang out around players. Once the dead period lifts in March and kids can go back on campus, if he comes up here and hangs out, I think that's a real positive. And so I think you have to lean on your advantages, and Tennessee being just a little over an hour, up the road is an advantage. Having a lot of Tennessee flavor at Chattanooga Baylor, is an advantage. And I think you've got to lean into that if you're Tennessee.
The number one running back in his class committed to Georgia. Any idea of when he is targeting a date to make an announcement and commit to a school?
Yeah, number one, my butt. Whatever. Like recruiting rankings are recruiting rankings. And that kid's a good player too. Spell's a great player. But I mean, to me, it's 1A, 1B. I mean, whatever. As for DGG, you're looking at probably July. He's going to take his OVs in June. I would venture to say early July is when you see him come off the board.
Any other recruiting notes to pay attention to right now?
No, I think Kenny Simon was getting fairly close to a decision in terms of knowing kind of where he wants to go. Was planning on seeing Tennessee, A&M, and Alabama, and then he lost the A&M junior day. So I think that's maybe slowed it a fraction. Could see him doing something, in late spring maybe. He's going to go out in March and April and see some schools and, see some spring practices and see how coaches coach and run their meeting rooms and so on and so forth. And then I think start to work towards a decision. You look at, his teammate there at Brentwood Academy, Keyshawn Bowman, seems like he's been a little bit all over the map. Once committed to Oregon, then all the buzz was with Tennessee, then all the buzz was with Miami, then it switched to Vanderbilt, then back to Miami, then back to Vanderbilt, and now it's kind of all over the map. And, the question is when does he do something? Nothing would shock me there, whether he committed tomorrow or waited all the way till July. Ultimately, I think it matters who's got the momentum in November with Keyshawn Bowman. Locally, Tennessee wants to, get Malik Howard, the tight end at Oak Ridge, over to campus. That's the Vanderbilt, Miami, Alabama, Tennessee battle. And then Jarrell Chandler, the safety from Halls, that's another one Tennessee is deep in it with. And Tennessee will be trying to keep the pedal down in his recruitment.
Very good. Volquest.com, they're covering it. Tennessee football, recruiting, Tennessee basketball with what's going on with the 4-game winning streak, and baseball right around the corner. There's a lot happening. You can see, hear, and read the guys at Volquest.com. And every week we talk to Austin Price right here on this show, thanks to Colossal Productions. Austin, thank you. We appreciate the time, and we will talk to you again next week.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Austin Price, Volquest, joining us on the Stanley Fencing Gates hotline. All guests join us thanks to Colossal Productions. They have these giant LED video walls. They can enhance any event, any party you are planning. Videos, images, graphics, top of the line, great people as well, great local company. ColossalProductions.com is the website. See how they can take your event to a literally bigger level. ColossalProductions.com.